Hello, everybody, and welcome in to week number 2 of the European Smite Challenger Circuit Qualifiers. I'm Agro, I'll be your host on the desk today, and right now I'm joined by Mifflin here on our brand new chair and Bologna casual set. That's kind of all we got going on, at least in the foreground here. But Miff, I mean, I thought that we would open up the day because last week the big story was Freshly Forged, this really stacked team of Deathwalker, Pretty Prime, Kalas, Joshi Fails. They didn't make it into the semifinals, so we were like, okay, at least we'll see them week 2. We will not be seeing them week 2 because they managed to lose in the quarterfinals again, this time to just F6.
I mean, it's insane to me. I have to imagine they have to be sick. Maybe there was like an issue with internet. I don't know how they could lose with such a star-studded lineup. Just F6, a bunch of relative newcomers, a bunch of Spanish players that have seen very minor success in the past, but that's a huge accomplishment for them, so we can't really sleep on them in this upcoming matchup.
No, I think you have to give them their respect. I mean, yes, I agree that something has to be going on with Freshly Forged at some level, but at the same time, we got to give credit where it's due to just F6. TottiGR, Rottwen, RemagDoku, iSotos 28, and CaptainOti. I've been around the Smite scene for a while now. These are not names that I'm particularly familiar with. RemagDoku rings a bell, but otherwise, this group of players that I'm sure many viewers are not familiar with just took down likely the best roster in the bracket, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I had to look them up to study for this desk segment, and it was hard to find information on them through the power of the internet.
Yeah.
So if you're just trying to use your prior knowledge, good luck.
It's going to be tough for you for sure, and it might be a tough matchup for the boys of Just F6 because they're going up against Froi in the first-time Combine, kervv, DineOhSaw, Mr. Stefan, Froisan, and Predators. These are names you might recognize, particularly if you've been a fan of the console scene. DineOhSaw and Predators have been pretty much mainstays on the rival side over there, and Mr. Stefan and Froisan have been in the European minor league scene since last year, and for Stefan in particular, even before that. So these guys probably thought they were going to have a very tough matchup up against Freshly Forged. Do you think that they might go into this match not quite as locked in as they would have had they been up against these SPL stars?
I mean, yes, you can't be as worried about this Just F6 roster as you would be, but I know that the Rapio boys, that's what I call the rival boys, they take every game incredibly seriously. They really have a drive to win. And coming from console to PC, they have that hunger. They need to prove themselves. We've been looked down upon as the lesser scene for such a long time that I imagine they want that stigma just gone.
Definitely, and we've seen some console players come over. I mean, the Hype Unit boys on the NA side of this bracket did great in week 1, and they managed to qualify, so wouldn't be surprised if we saw the same here. I mean, they've already qualified. It's a matter of if they can make it now into the finals here in week 2, so we get ready for picks and bans to start us off. Froi and the boys are going to be in that first pick position. Persephone, a god that we've seen be a priority ban last year. Towards the beginning, everyone was like, yeah, maybe she's not as good this year. We don't have to worry about her. But we've seen a couple really big performances. Sops had one yesterday in the NA side, where Persephone still looks like a very strong mid laner.
Persephone is really powerful. I've been sleeping on her for a long time. I've had no faith in the character outside of the ultimate. That ultimate is undeniably powerful.
Yep.
But I queued up some casuals last night, and Keegs, LG's old mid laner, really just gave it to me for a solid 5 minutes, and I was bullied. Hindu Man's nodding to my side because I was queued up with him, and I was getting bullied by Persephone.
So you threw a game because you got a match up against Keegs and you gave Hindu Man a loss? Is that what you're telling me?
No, we won.
Oh, okay. All right, still won at least. At the very least, we got that going for us. Pretty typical bans here: Persephone, Hunbats, Odin for Froi and the boys, Morrigan, Heimdall, and Kukulkan over there for the boys of Just F6. Camazotz was going to be the first god that comes to mind. I mean, last year he got the buff to his 3 to get that extended range, a couple buffs throughout the year as well to the sustain, and it feels like everyone's realizing that Camazotz is just insane right now.
I mean, just the bully potential in the solo lane is so high. He has such high sustain, as well as that ultimate, just being able to remove yourself from the playfield at any sign of danger. That's gonna be good, you know?
Sure. It's going to be tough to deal with, no doubt about it. Very hard to get away from as a backliner. That leaves open Yemoja, and Just F6 take Merlin and Yemoja. A pretty strong combination. Merlin, a god that follows up very well off continued CC. Yemoja certainly has plenty of that continued CC.
Constant stuns, really. That's all it is, as well as that huge wall. And, you know, Merlin, not the most survivable god there is, but Yemoja's going to give her the overshield as well as all that healing. It's going to be a good synergy there for the side of Just F6.
Xing, Chen, and Jing Wei round out the first half of the draft for Froi in the first-time Combine. And Just F6 block in that Ho Yi on their side. A good synergy with Yemoja because that ricochet inside those walls it's not that hard to line up some crazy triple bounces.
I mean, 2 just solid walls right there to bounce back and forth between. I mean, that's all you want as Huyi. I'm interested in that ice span. You would think that you would leave that open just because Huyi and Yemoja have very good matchups into Isis, able to cancel out that Wind Gust very easily.
Sure.
But Isis does have huge objective confirm, which is lacking on the side of Froi right now, so that is pretty smart from them.
And just F6 don't have great objective confirmed themselves, so you kind of want to take that away from the other side. Certainly makes sense to me. Cullen's been rising in popularity as of late. That's going to be the solo lane pick here for just F6. And you'd anticipate that's going to be up against the Camazotz, though. That is still a flex pick, can certainly go into the jungle for Froisan if they so choose. And with Ratatoskr, it's tough to say, though I do recall some Ratatoskr play by Predators in the past. I still feel like there's going to be Camazotz solo and Rat in the jungle.
Yeah, I would imagine so. The global presence from Ratatoskr is so good just to put pressure all over the map, not even necessarily having to be there. If Ratatoskr walks to one side of the jungle, they have to be aware of that just constant threat that he might get dunked. Same can go for Thor as well on the side of just F6.
Yeah, 10th pick Thor, not a bad place to be in if you're just F6 for sure. Myth, what stands out about these 2 comps to you? Which comp do you like better?
I favor Froi sans Janus. I'm not a huge Janus fan, but Froi's teamfight presence is so high. Xing with that ultimate and as well as that sustain in lane is going to be so good, and Camazotz, always powerful.
We'll see if just F6 can continue their Cinderella run here on the Saturday. Let's throw it down to Dolson and Hindu Man for game number 1.
Appreciate you, Aggro, with Hindu standing next to me for game 1 of this best of 3. You have a quiz for me this time, Graham?
You want one?
No.
Well, why ask that then?
Because I'm confirming that you don't.
You're a little bit worried? You got
I was.
I mean, you did okay
I studied
last time.
up. No, I studied up.
Okay.
I got all the stats.
Question
no, wait, no. Now
one.
I set myself up. I certainly didn't study.
Question 1.
Oh.
Who are these Just F6 boys? Or girls, to be fair.
They are a bunch of Spanish Smite players who just had a big upset over the freshly forged team.
That's
there
as
we
much
go.
as
All
I
right,
know
one
too.
for one.
So I'm excited to see how they do here, honestly, Dave, because looking at the picks and bans of these 2 teams, it's very much about mobility in this composition that both of them really gone for. It's ever so slightly leaning towards Froi and his team on that side, on the order side of the map. Basically, they've got a little bit more with that Janus, going to allow them to get around the map, and obviously the semi-global rotation from Ratatoskr will match that of the Thor that Just F6 have.
You look at all the builds, essentially mirrored across the board except the Acorn that Ratatoskr gets to start off with. Everyone else effectively mirroring one another, and I think that's a good segue. Talk to me about this Ratatoskr a little bit. We haven't gotten to see him picked up a whole lot. What do you expect out of him in the jungle?
Yeah, funny enough, I think the reason Ratatoskr kind of fell from grace a little bit was the rise of Thor once more. I mean, he got a couple of buffs, and they were good buffs to his kit. And because of that, generally you won't see them both in the meta at the same time. Once upon a time, Ratatoskr was really good against Thor, just because he could cancel out that Berserker Barrage, that 3. But because the 3 was sped up for Thor, it kind of made it a little bit more awkward now, where Ratatoskr is kind of matched with what Thor can bring. If anything, Thor's got a little bit more availability for better CC options.
Well, I certainly raised my eyebrows, and I think they did on the desk as well, that Thor found his way all the way down to that 10th pick. And surprisingly, I think Yemoja as well, making her way through pretty consistently, one of the most top banned out gods. But she's going to be playing support in that long lane for just F6. Certainly a strong pick to pair with that Huyi.
Definitely is, but hold on, I think Froisan could be in trouble here.
Oh, nice. He sidesteps that stun. Double tap no good. And Froisan is out alive.
And going back towards Yemoja, yeah, I think a lot of teams are trying to work out how to play around her, how to understand how her kit works, really.
Sure.
In the early game, she really is just a bit of poke for wave clear. However, her Omni cost is pretty heavy in that early stages. You need to get her online. She's very much a late-game Guardian that can make a lot of issues for the enemy team. Basically through ridiculous amounts of sustain, and not just from heals, it's the shields too.
I'm very excited. They brought it up on the desk. I think the ultimate, maybe paired with some Huyi bounces, could be interesting to look at. Throughout this lane so far, they have been able to find some CC, but this Xing has not shied away from getting aggressive as Huyi is already pushed back down beneath his tier 1 tower.
And you mentioned Jing there. I think Jing could be on the rise this year for sure, specifically in the support role more than anything else. He's got a lot of mobility. I think with some of the changes coming through towards those mid-harpies, where the baby harpies now are on the left-hand side of the map, he has the ability to jump over the wall, I believe, once things get going. But that mobility is just going to allow him to cause a lot of problems. And his sustain is pretty damn good.
Well, Froisan's trying to be annoying here on the just F6 side of the map. If nothing else, he forces Cullen back, Captain beneath his tier 2 tower. No kill there. but he is at least able to delay that solo laner's experience gain. You brought it up a little bit, some of the Harpies over on that long lane side of the map. I think that's something that's been debated. Is it worth going over to grab that solo Harpy after the purple buff?
Yeah, the Alpha Harpy in the dual lane, I think it's just there for a hunter to take and try and dissuade them from wanting to rotate, maybe, you know? Or, well, I need a little bit more gold, I don't need to base just yet, I'll do the Alpha real quick. I don't think it's still worthwhile for two members to look to invade, for example.
Right.
On the first wave or two, I think the idea would be just keep that lane pressure you've got going. It's a bit of a noob trap still for me in terms of trying to invade off the first or second wave even to invade that Alpha. But as the game goes on, it's a little bit more experience, a little bit more gold across the map.
Well, Froisan has continued to live on this just F6 side of the jungle. Is going to have to use the ultimate, just gets out alive. That's going to put him off on the other side of the map. This Ratatoskr is a thorn in the side of just F6 to start off this game.
Definitely. Very lucky as well that Thor doesn't have his ultimate yet, because that's the one problem you're going to have. Whoever ults first in that engagement may end up being the loser. Luckily enough, Ratatoskr does have a bit more time in the air as Predator's under pressure here.
Yeah, Captain looked to jump in there. You do have to be careful, though. Thor did just hit that ultimate, and SCC is on this right-hand side of the map. So Predators has to be wary of that, especially when he starts to get a little bit lower here. But when you have that Camazotz, you got a little extra sustain.
You're a little bit newer to Smite, and the one thing you got to realize, he's got a few more minutes. You know why? Because the speed buff's up, and all junglers care about is that speed buff. I completely agree with you. I think there is an opportunity on Predators there, but he needs to get over there soon before a base comes through. The teleport is on cooldown for him, funny enough, which means that Predators are going to be very, very careful. And this blue's coming up. He should have an idea that Thor should be lurking in the area.
That's right. Both solo laners are going to pivot back for their blue buff here. The trades, though, on it, I mean, for a moment there, it looks like Predator, and I guess that's the sneaky part about Camazotz, right? I mean, for a moment there, it looks like you're going to be able to poke him out of lane and then just sustains himself right back up.
Definitely, and that's the benefit of what Camazotz can really do. He can lane clear pretty effectively from distance, build quite tanky as well. But his sustain is definitely where he comes into the fray, because he doesn't bring much crowd control to a team fight.
Sure.
He's mainly just raw damage and nuisance on the front line. If anything, it's kind of like a Sun Wukong if you imagine Sun Wukong didn't have any CC.
Right. We're effectively even here 5 minutes into this game. Call it 400 gold lead for Froi, and a little bit of experience as well. Maybe a bit of that in the jungle as Froisan's been able to find just a little bit of an advantage over SCC, who's been chasing him levels-wise. Talk to me as well. The Hunter builds, I think, is something we looked at a good bit yesterday. Between Huyi, maybe Curve, is this a sort of, you go into that Xe, you go into honestly, maybe Rage right after
great point you've noticed there on the screen is at the moment they're looking towards going for Executioner early on with this build. It's the extra attack speed they've gone for. Normally we see the Devourer's Gauntlets rush or even the Bloodforge attempt. Transcendence also an option, but with these two Hunters specifically, I expect to see Jing Wei look a little bit more, lean a little bit more towards some sustain in that lane to begin with. But at the moment, neither going that route. I'm very intrigued to see where they both choose to go here. But this is something specifically towards Europe at the moment. I've not seen this out of North America so far.
Yeah, there was definitely some debate about, you know, whether Bloodforge or Devourer's Gauntlet. Many different paths, I think, taken in that Hunter role over there towards yesterday.
But this one, never seen it for a while, this. Actually, this will sort of start with the attack speed rush. I'm not sure how effective it'll be as these two are going to go at it.
He's going to drop down. This could be a difference maker on what direction you have to go. And Curve is just going to backpedal himself away. A little bit worse for wear, though, is Totti, so he loses out on that engagement just a touch. But you got Yemoja there for a little extra sustain.
You do indeed, and I think that's the one thing that I'm seeing in this game. Europe is generally a little bit slow and a little bit more, you know, respectfully of the opposition. I think that's what we're seeing out of Froi here. They don't really know these Just F6 kids too much, and they're giving them the due diligence they should, considering they had a good run to get to this point in the tournament. So it's kind of slow, and they're kind of like working to see exactly where their weaknesses might be on this roster.
Well, both teams kind of pivoting themselves on the Just F6 red buff side, and Froisan still deep. Back in that side of the jungle. Could be the first blood coming up here. That's a stun onto Totti, but he's able to get himself up and over that Yemoja wall, and that's going to block off the rest of this fight. But SCC has the ultimate. Where does he crash down? Just misses out. As DineOhSaw gets himself out thanks to the portal.
Yeah, those portals coming through from Janus. He went for the damage, but luckily enough, DineOhSaw saw the option and got away. Speaking a little bit more about this Froi team, by the way. Mr. Stefan, formerly a PC player, Predators as well, actually on console. I don't know whether they're all playing on PC or console today, but this is a mixture of two different sort of platforms mixing together from where we've seen them play of days gone by.
That's right. I mean, that's sort of the benefit of the way this all works, right? You get to kind of see that big meshing of ideas and metas and kind kind of how all of that stuff tends to work out. Still no first blood, surprisingly, I think, with the way all these engagements have been going. You know, both, I think, teams not wanting to bite off too much here. When you get to this 8.5 minutes into this game, one kill could be a difference.
And I think both teams are looking at this, that they get better with age as their compositions go on, you know? When you look at the team fight stage, I think just F6 will be like, hey, we've got Yemoja, we've got Thor, and we've also got Merlin for this AoE damage. And across the way, Froi's in the same sort of boat. We'll have Predators to really nuisance and annoy the backline, but at the same time, we'll have Janus get some key items online, so we can start to deal some relevant damage, hopefully, as the game goes on.
Soul laners are going to continue to duel over here by the just F6 blue buff side. Do have Xing rotating up and through. That's DineOhSaw. That blue buff is up soon, so they could grab some vision, excuse me, maybe some control of that side of the jungle as Froisan is going to rotate over as well.
Yeah, with DineOhSaw being over here, I expect to see a bit more aggression coming out from Froi, but they need to be careful because at the moment they're doing 2 different camps.
That's right, he could get stunned up. Those are the walls up, and Rottwen finds first blood in this one with DineOhSaw answering back with one of his own. Stefan is going to fall on the backside of this fight with Predators, plugging away some good damage into that Cullen, who's found his rage form. That's the leap out used by Predators here. Stun up onto DineOhSaw. They're going to have plenty of damage here, but that's a big health pool they've got to make their way through. One final shot, and Captain finds it.
And that could be one of the reasons we see just F6 in this, if I'm honest. People invading them, looking for aggression, splitting the difference. We had Jing 10 doing the back harpies. We also had Froisan doing the blue buff at the same time. And that just allowed just F6 to group around them and kind of like collapse. And it was Froi on the retreat. Ends up at 3 for 1. Very beneficial.
Yeah, finally, it seems like there's all these almost fireworks through the first few minutes of the game. Froisan wraps around Totti. That's the kill setup. Finally, some parity there in the duo lane. Predators, though, he's going to get aggressive on the Captain. Up in the solo lane, Yemoja's here to help. Can chain CC onto that Camazotz. Knock back. Just need a little bit more damage. That's kill number 2 for the Yemoja.
Nice work out of just F6 there as well. And I want to say Froisan rotating to the left-hand side and finding that pick onto Totti. He's also pretty impactful too. It's going to open up that window for Jingwei just a little bit more as they've both gone for the assy rush here. Interesting. So they want lifesteal, they want attack speed, they want power. All those things are great, right? Now the one thing that I can see the reason why we might be seeing some of this is the penetration on that 15 pen is pretty impactful in the early stages, well, at any stage if I'm honest. But I'm just not so sure if this is going to be as useful for them as the game goes on. Normally you go for a bigger power spike item, this curve that we get to talk about as a chair too a little bit more, which is about the curve of your power, making sure it's always going up at decent margins rather than like small spikes into bigger spikes. And that's normally why we see those stacking items at the early of the game or even the Blood Forge. I don't know how this is going to work out. Sure, attack speed's higher, but can they land those basics?
And I while you're talking about that and kind of some of the damage builds going on in that duo lane, I look to Predators as well. I think you talk about Camazotz, there's, I think, numerous different ways you can build him, more bruisery. Do you imagine that that turns into a Transcendence there for that third item slot?
Quite possibly. I mean, we see a lot of these sort of builds with the mana regeneration for him. Basically, the mana pool for him, if anything, just gets a little bit bigger. Because the one weakness of a Camazotz is, well, being out of mana, if I'm honest. Because he can resustain to high heaven. There's a rotation of our Rottwen that's been spotted here.
Yeah, he's got the mark on him and plenty of CC to be put down. Kerv, though, he takes this as an excuse to get aggressive. You do have some assistance from that Merlin, but Thor comes crashing down, spinning around, but DineOhSaw's not able to peel himself off of that fight. Totti finds the kill. They're going to backpedal themselves. One more kill for just F6, and Froi, they're left packing.
Yeah, I want to see a Gold Fury out of just F6 here. This is a good opportunity for them. Froi's an ult down, Stefan's ult's down, and his curves. This is a hard play for Froi to try and contest this, but they've got to try and do something. Otherwise, just F6 are going to get a bigger lead.
Soto is just playing zone right now. Kerv, they are privy to it. They do not want to take that disadvantageous fight. That's Fury number 1 and a Gold Fury at that. So the gold lead just now swinging back for just F6. Just now. I mean, they've been behind this entire game, and they grabbed themselves a 1K lead. Completely
agreed. I think that's what we saw out of Froi, was trying to abuse the early game, trying to catch these windows, and now they're under pressure. Nice blink out of Froisan there, just before the damage came through.
Couldn't have used it a moment later. They get stunned up. So now we've finally seen some parity in the jungle as well. In this early game, Froisan was so obnoxious, I think, towards that backside of the jungle. With some good fighting, some good zoning, that puts iSotos in the lead. What do you imagine the next steps are for this Thor to get involved in the game?
For the Thor specifically, I think they just need to keep this going, because
Sure.
Just F6 are doing the right sort of thing here. Rottwen on this Yemoja, he's having an impact, been involved in all the kills. And to be fair, most of the kills that we see out of Just F6 have all come together, where they've been grouped up. We're starting to get to this grouping stage now. And that's kind of what EU play through. They'll look for a team fight and then go, okay, can we get an objective after the fact? That's what it's played around. The best news for both teams, they're both kind of keeping pace in terms of 4-on-4s is very regular so far. In the laning phase, no real action. Now the team fights are starting to break out.
Well, I think one big thing as well, you bring up the Yemoja, so much of the conversation around her is the not only shielding, but a lot of the sustain.
Yeah.
You look at anti-heal, whose role is that to maybe start to stack some of that?
Kind of
for,
a shared
Froi?
responsibility, if I'm honest. I mean, sometimes you can look to try and get a Hunter to get something to help out like a Toxic Blade, but it's not necessarily going to be good for their power curves.
Sure.
Then you've got the, easy Brawlers beat sticks for everybody to get in terms of the Assassins. But on the left-hand side, bit of pressure here.
That's right. Froisan is going to crash down. Totti stunned up curve, finds himself an easy setup kill there. So the Jing finally on the board, grabs not only a kill, but now a 1-level lead over Totti.
Yeah, if I'm sat there now as Just F6, I'm like, hey, Totti, just play it a little bit safer in this lane. We had the lead for a minute. We're winning the team fight. Stop taking unnecessary 1v1s.
And you're also thinking about Pyromancer here if you're just F6, but Froi is in range. That's DineOhSaw who's going to back himself off. Pyro was down to about a third of its health. That's a tier 1 tower taken down in the meantime by Froi, and Pyromancer disengaged.
Yeah, that's a bit more experience coming out from Froi there, I feel. They get the tier 1 on my left-hand side and delay the Pyromancer. The call was right from Just F6, but this fight could be anyone's.
There could be more. That's Xing uses his ultimate. Merlin finds himself the kill. Down crashing comes Soto, but DineOhSaw is in range of his tower. Therefore, is going to be safe. And this is Pyro now restarted for Just F6.
Bit trickier here because Predators does have that ultimate available for Camazotz to take himself out of combat and still contest this buff. Got to be very careful here, Just F6.
Oh, and Froi is able to find it. Oh no, Predator swoops in. Predator steals the Pyro. Ooh. That's a big win. He might even find a kill for his troubles. He might trade out his life, which he does. So it's a 1-for-1. But a Pyro to Froi.
Yeah, not too happy with Predators.
Oh, Stefan died in the meantime as well.
I think what Predators did there, realistically, he did a good job of stealing the Pyro. Did he really need to chase for that kill? The answer is no. It cost him a relic and his life. His team would have probably made more use of him continuing to farm on the map. Small misstep, but it's okay. Froi are doing okay here. They've got themselves the lead again.
Yeah, it was a good bit of engagement. Stefan did end up falling, kind of in a side engagement from that fight. We are effectively tied up here now, 15 minutes into this game. Towers, Froi has 5 standing, left to Just F6's 4. What have you made of kind of the objective calls so far from either team this game? Do you agree with Just F6 retrying that Pyromancer with Froisan still in range?
I think the retry was a little bit risky. I think that the initial call to go for the Pyromancer was correct, but they just got a little bit scared. They were in a 4v3 where they had the advantage of the numbers, and yet still failed to commit and try and secure it. Same time, though, Pyromancer isn't really worth that much.
That's true.
Dave. It's like, it's not
you
that
move
big
fast.
Yeah, from base. But the only times you should be going to base is, well, when you're dead or you need to buy items.
Well, they may be able to go back and get back to lane a little bit quicker. So not the end of the world there for Just F6, but a big win for Froi nonetheless.
I do want to touch on what you were saying earlier about the anti-heal as well, because still no one on Froi has actually picked any up.
Yeah.
Bit of lack of respect for what Yemoja may bring in terms of sustain as this game goes on. But I think Froi is starting to find a bit more wind in their sails now. They're starting to realize that they can kind of pull Just F6 around a little bit. And I think that tier 1 tower on that left-hand side, and Totti seems to be the one that they're starting to find a bit of success through.
That's a blink forward. No connection there from DineOhSaw. They do have a couple members close by for the re-engagement if need be. Yemoja's going to look to stun some out on their back pedal. Rottwen looks to keep moving forward here. They're going to get near that Gold Fury, and with 15 seconds left on the Fury respawn, you got to be careful. You lose a fight, and that's likely a Fury.
100%, Dave, and that's why both teams are in this area now, because they both know it's very, very important for them. With the tier 1 tower being down in mid as well for Just F6 here, Froi in a bit of a better position overall, because if Just F6 get chased through the jungle at all, they've got a much longer distance to travel to get back to safety.
You look at Fury now started up. This one's the Oni. Predators in the back line. That's where that Camazotz wants to be. He's going to move himself in. That's a good stun there, but he's knocked back, and the wall's playing so much of a role in this fight as Froisan rejoins, finds the first kill. Thor up into the sky. Could crash down. That's a 3-man stun, with Predators having to burn the ultimate to get out alive. Only 1 kill in this one. That's Froi so far who has it, with Predators looking for a little bit extra. He finds the DOT on Soto, and that's a kill for them. DineOhSaw trying to sidestep, dashes up, but Totti, he finds the return kill here. Has to use the Aegis, but it's only going to save his life just for a moment as Stefan is able to grab a kill.
Talk about Stefan. Look at him right now. He's just happily just dealing damage from the backline, not being focused out at all. Bit of a split decision there from Just F6, if I'm honest, on where to focus their target priorities. It's very risky to try and do a Fury right in front of a Ratatoskr and, of course, the Janus.
That's a good stun there. It's going to set up a double kill for Captain on the backside of the Fury, but Predators has plenty of healing to maybe keep himself in this fight. Oni not there for Rottwen. They're going to be able to take that portal back. A big spike there for Froi post-Fury.
Yeah, Just F6, you really need to look at what they did around that Fury. They pulled it right in front of a Thor, in front of a Ratatoskr and a Janus. 2 gods that are very, very good at like interfering when they feel like interfering. If anything, if Just F6 want to do that again, they have the opportunity, but they've got to do better zone work first. Try and burn some relics, burn some ultimates like they did for the first Gold Fury. They would have opened them up. And now, with Froi getting that one, which was an Oni Fury, that means there's a lot more pressure in this map.
Well, DineOhSaw is going to toss that. Oh my, that is so much damage. Not able to clean up the kill. There's a re-engage from SCC on the backside of the fight, and he's going to find an immobile Janus and grab himself a kill. So that's the evening kill for SCC on this Thor. 2 kills, 2 deaths, 5 assists.
Great work from Soto there, to be honest, as well, recognizing that Janus just uses through space and time. One of his biggest escapes, and also he was sat dead center of the lane. Never a thing you want to do as a Janus. Sure, you need to be dead center to clear the wave in one go, but get to those walls quick, because if anyone gets on you, you need that portal to get through those walls back to safety.
And if anyone's going to crash down on you quickly, it's likely a Thor.
Oh, yeah.
See that come out to fruition. Quick check back in on the Hunter builds. We've basically seen a mirror here. The Executioner now coming in as that 4th completed item for kervv. He does have a small lead. Totti is going to finish off the Executioners as well.
And the rest of the builds that we've got coming out outside of that Asi, I'm not surprised by. Executioner, fantastically potent, Rages too. Asi's definitely interesting, and we might see that in the Pro League. Who knows? Because at the start of the year, nobody really knows what is going to be the meta build and whether or not there is one. This Asi one is definitely one to be talked about in future weeks.
Yeah, everyone's still trying to figure out the game and what works best. Totti looking for a nice little bounce there on the curve. Froisan is close by. It's a squishy hoo-yee if you choose to dive in, but Just F6 know that this is going on. They're going to rotate themselves through. Have to be careful with this Yemoja close by. Going to sidestep. Whirlwind of Rage and Steel has to get used. Rottwen knocks him back. The water walls go up. Then suddenly the Xing, he's looking a little bit worse for wear. He's going to jump his way out. And no kill found.
So they get a couple of ultimates out there. DineOhSaw used his for a bit more CC immunity, and then Mr. Stefan to get his teammate out. What was that fight over, though? When you think about it, there's no Gold Fury up. All it really did was allow Totti to farm 2 more waves on that left-hand side. I'm not so sure. Just F6 is going to be a little bit careful of that too, because Jing turns at that point in time where he's tanky enough to weather all that damage. And if he can survive and they're going to waste that much time on him, the rest of Froi can answer back and find wins off the back of it.
I mean, the Fury is still 2 minutes out, and that's going to be another Pyromancer. This time, though, Just F6 is able to secure it. Nobody from Froi was in range that time. They could be maybe looking for another re-engage here, though, Graham. As Froisan is starting to move in. That's the stun used by the Thor.
Blink in from
That's
Dino.
The blink in. He might be able to get it, but his ultimate's still down from the previous disengage. He's not able to pull anyone back. SCC is up into the air. He crashes down. No stun found, but the wall is going to lock down Froisan. Stefan turns around the damage. That's Predators up into the sky. He goes, swoops down one final time with Captain looking for some more damage onto kervv, who uses that airstrike to get himself out to safety.
So when you think about the kill there onto Soto on that Thor, realistically that was Froi answering back for the Pyro being lost.
Right.
And Just F6 did a good job of realizing they had the opportunity to do that when Froi weren't really paying attention. And at this point, sure, you get a Thor, cool, you killed him. Great job, everybody. Let's go back to farming again. We could have done that originally anyway because we still didn't get that Pyro.
Now you stand 20 minutes into the game. It was even at the start, a little bit of a spike in the middle. Now we're moving ourselves right back towards even. XP, though, that's a big deal. I mean, while gold is only about a 1K differential, you're looking at close to 4,500 for Froi.
You're right, and I think the one thing in the experience is where you can see, well, actually, funny enough, Totti did catch up finally. Experience is kind of even across the board for the most part. Still matters for a few players as they're not level 20 yet. The majority of the lead, though, is definitely in mid and jungle. 2 levels there for the Merlin down at the moment. And that's just because of the pressure of that tier 1 tower falling so early. We've seen a lot more rotations and team fighting. It's harder to try and find that farm.
Well, Divine Ruin for Mr. Stefan, so they do end up picking up a little bit of that anti-heal, at least for the mid laner. So he's able to spread out some of that damage. He'll be plenty happy about that one. You kind of talked earlier about moving into this late game.
Yeah.
Which composition do you kind of, I mean, it's a hard question.
It's always the question
It's a
that
tough one.
Chat 2's get, and I do it to him too, because realistically on paper here, I do favor Froi's composition a little bit more in the late game. However, that's based off how well Rottwen can do on this Yemoja. Because it's all about playing through the Yemoja, and she's currently 209, and once again, she's still got 100% kill participation.
That's right.
Which is a really big thing for them. They may have to shut down the Yemoja or play around her Omni a little bit better.
Well, the Fury is up, and that means the fight's going to be happening over here on the left side.
Yeah,
DineOhSaw, he gets trapped between the walls one more time. Going to take the portals right on through. Up goes Sotos to the sky, crashes down, but Froisan does the same for him. Health bar starting to melt away for just F6, but are they able to capitalize? They say yes. Predators finds the kill on a Totti with Rottwen trying to backpedal to his tier 2. No go on that, and they want some more, Graham.
And they're going to be able to get it as well, because Soto will die under the tower, and the portal will get Froisan out from safety. And now, happy enough, is Curve to go, yeah, I'll take a few tower shots at this point. All the while, Predators is just going to continue to chip away on the Chulainn.
And this is what you expect from this Camazotz as you move towards this point. No way he's worried about a tower, maybe a little Phoenix damage, why not? They are going to pivot themselves, though, towards that FG.
And what's happened here is Froi has started to identify where Just F6 has been a little bit weak in their team fights. What it is they're not protecting the backline very well, whereas their backline from Froi is able to just pretty much free fire and not be focused out. The front line from Just F6 is doing a very good job of engaging on the front line themselves. The problem is, they just can't get the damage off onto the carries. The first 2 members of Just F6 to fall there was the mid laner and the Hunter. And guess what? They're the majority of the late game carries.
Well, Rottwen just found his first death in this one, and the Yemoja has been impactful, I think, throughout this game.
Really has.
But I feel like the walls have so often been to block off DineOhSaw. Do you agree?
And I think the reason for that is because you're looking for the person that gets trapped, right? And I think that's where the walls can sometimes kind of bait you into a situation where you're trying to use the walls effectively, making sure someone is trapped inside and making sure they can continue the pressure. But if it's on a frontline tank, as we've been saying, it's not going to be as useful for them when it comes to those team fights.
Well, Froi opt to take that 1 kill for 4 advantage and move over to the Fire Giant. Now Primal Fury is going to be the next to go down. And now with no big objectives left on the map, save the base of Just F6, you look towards sieging, you send 1 maybe to the mid lane, and turn your eyes towards this tier 2 in the long lane.
Yeah, they've got the opportunity as well, Froi, because of the semi-global rotations. We were saying Janus can split off to one side, Ratatoskr as well. Just split the map apart, force Just F6 to be in a position where they can't fight as a 5-man unit. But even then, when they do fight as a 5-man, as we've been saying, it's the backline that's been struggling on survival here. And I'm not sure how you can really go about peeling for them. Yemoja, not necessarily the greatest in terms of individual peel. She's great on the front line for CC chains and for resustain, but it's a bit more reliant on a Merlin and the Ho Yi to keep themselves in good positions.
Well, it's been a tough game for Doku here at 1, 3, and 5 on that Merlin. Stefan, though, I mean, a humble 2, 3, and 7 still, but have you liked what you've seen out of that Janus so far?
I like most of the time when I see the Janus. It's just, especially in competitive play, in your casuals, you won't see much Janus be used as
You played Janus the other day.
I did!
You played it pretty well.
Yeah, but what you're trying to do is you put portals up and you hope for people to use the portals and realize they're there for you. When you're in a team situation where you're all on communication together, it makes it a lot easier to go, hey, I'm putting a portal for you down, use it, get aggressive, or get back into position.
Sure. I think Stefan has found some good uses of that ultimate ability. So now all Phoenixes exposed here. Fire Giant, about 1 minute and 45 seconds left for Froi. This is always where the game still kind of hangs in the balance, isn't it? I mean, it's so tough to siege those Phoenixes.
And I think that's the big key is how does Just F6 go about defending these Phoenixes? The problem they've got is their clear is really reliant a lot of the time, I would say, onto the Merlin for trying to clear out this camp. Sure, Ho you can step up and throw a ricochet through it or drop the Suns, but you don't really want to use your ultimates on wave clear if you can help it. And when you look at the rest of the composition, well, iSo went for a little bit more of a bruisery, but mainly focused on damage build here. And that means that he can step up and double tap the wave. But if he gets focused when he goes to do that, he could end up taking more damage than bargained for.
Well, looks like a lot of the presence of this Just F6 roster is through Captain this game. 4-0-4 on that Chulainn. Full kind of defense there. It is the left side Phoenix as well as a split for the mid one is being focused. Froisan takes a little bit more damage, I think, than he was expecting. Stefan, though, he's here to rejoin this fight. His Thor crashes down, but as Ratatoskr is taken to the skies, they might be able to turn around the damage onto Sotos. That's a good stun.
Chase,
the rest of Froi is looking to turn around and find the damage on him. This is a split fight. Big wall in the backside of the fight. Stefan finds the Thor, but you trade out your jungler for it with Predators looking for a little bit more underneath this Phoenix.
Not gonna lie, Dawson, I think the Thor did everything he could there for his team. His team, however, didn't get the memo that they were winning that fight and didn't push out a base. And now, because of that, they're trying to find the Phoenix line again, but they're surviving, and they might still be able to hold this base.
Yeah, DineOhSaw got chipped away there just a little bit too long, tanking down that Phoenix. Predators was trying to maybe pull away some of that. It is a 2-for-1 here, and maybe what you expect on some of these Phoenix defenses.
Yeah, honestly, Soto played that so well up against Ratatoskr. Getting the poke out onto Froisan there at the beginning of that fight, that put the pressure on, and then Stefan went for a really cheeky play, used it through space and time. He was trying to catch Thor on the chase out of base just off the mark, and that put him at a really unfortunate position. Luckily enough for himself, though, he did survive, but it did come at the cost of DineOhSaw's life too now. And so the pressure's relieved, the FG is about to respawn, and then we turn our attention there. Yeah,
we're about to start doing that Fire Giant dance in the 20-plus minutes of this game, aren't we, where the Phoenix defense is successful this time from Just F6. You chip away hardly any damage at all, but by that time your buff is worn off, and now you got 20 seconds left. Fury is going to be up close by. Do you imagine this is a position for Just F6 where obviously Fire Giant's going to be the next objective for Froi? Do you move out of your base and try to contest?
I think you can, but I think it's your confidence level in doing that. Maybe they're feeling like if they can just let them get, maybe they'll give them the FG up and go for another Phoenix defense, because if they can wipe them on a Phoenix defense, then they can push on and win the game, because the respawn times get a little bit longer. However, at the FG, Merlin's really good at clearing the camp out quickly. He's not got very good secure, but he can burst it down quick, whereas Froi, on the other hand, they have burst with that Janus. That space and time can really make an impact.
Yeah, you have to be careful. You know, he's a 4-5-5 Thor, which is, I mean, technically negative if you look at the 4 and the 5. Finishes off his build with the Heartseeker, still has that early blessing, though, but that is a Thor that still does plenty of damage. He can 100-0 you if he drops on your backline.
Yeah, I completely agree. As you can see, Doug having over the Heartseeker there as well. Very, very impactful item that got added last year, and still going to see a lot of use this year, I expect, for these junglers.
Yeah, I imagine.
Sometimes even some of the laners too. Shift to shield gives them a little bit of protections, which can be a bit more impactful here. But here comes the FG, started up by Froi.
It's pulled by Froi, and Just F6 is going to leave their base for this one, but peeled off now is Froi. Nobody leashing the FG anymore, so it's going to regenerate. Rottwen is going to move his way back.
Bit of a decent coming in through here for us at the moment, so just bear with us, as obviously this isn't exactly what's going on right now.
Yep. But
did you realize that too?
Well, I was like, why is Rottwen suddenly moving back towards lane? But we did get to see what Just F6 were going to decide about that Fire Giant. So they obviously are feeling like they can maybe take this fight.
Completely agree, and I think that's the idea, is that maybe you try and contest. There's a chance you can steal it away. You have the opportunity to maybe kill a couple of people before they get the FG buff. Instead of just giving it the FG completely, you can shut a couple of people down even having it to begin with.
Well, so much of this game has run through that Yemoja. Do you still think for Just F6 that's on her shoulders, a lot of the lockdown? Obviously not a lot of the damage, but is the fight set up really still through that Yemoja?
Exactly, and I think that's what we're seeing at Yemoja so far. She's playing very aggressive in the early phase, which makes a lot of sense. But as the game goes on, I want to see her kind of fall back a little bit to the back line. Play like a mage to an extent, but your job isn't to deal damage there. Keep your teammates alive. Throw out the sustain consistently. Use those riptides and the ultimate defensively. And there's a chance for him to get back into this.
And maybe talk to me a little bit about the support on the other side. What we've seen out of that Xing still playing very far forward. Some ultimates have connected, some have not. What have you seen out of him?
I think that's a right way to play the Jing as well. DineOhSaw doing a very good job. You're a nuisance more than anything else.
Yeah, right.
Constantly knocking up, constantly CCing him. If you keep that pressure going, eventually they're like, well, I'm going to have to be, because I think I'm going to get ganked.
Right.
And if you're also putting all that damage into a Jing 10, well, it means the backline's not being touched.
Sure.
And we mentioned that Janus and both the Jing Wei have both had a lot of time to free cast. What more can you ask for?
Well, what it took to finally get on that backline was SCC using his ultimate, crashing down.
Yep.
He was only able to trade out one, but I think a large part of that Phoenix defense, you credit to SCC.
Yeah, it really was. The 1v1 in the mid lane, the jungler versus jungler, it's something we see a lot of the time in the Pro League too, and that's how they kind of try and split the map up. But when it's Ratatoskr versus Thor, they both have those global ultimates.
Right.
So it's whoever loses theirs first can really change the course of a fight. So basically, forcing him out, forcing him back, taking him on the defense causes a lot more problems for them.
So you maybe draw some similarities between a Ratatoskr and a Thor and maybe the way they play?
Yeah, and that's kind of what the fans at home do too. Right. It's very similar to, in a way, Poseidon and Kukulkan. You never really see them both in the meta at the same time because they both bring the same sort of thing. And Ratatoskr and Thor are kind of in a similar spot now. Once when Ratatoskr came on the scene and got his rework and things, we saw him escalate above what Thor could bring to the fight. But then Thor has now answered back. His changes have allowed him to be a bit more impactful in the later stages, and people are a bit more afraid of him now.
And this is maybe a nitpicky question, but we've kind of gone through the supports, gone through the junglers. Between the Jing and the Hu Yi, is there one that maybe jumps out as more impactful potentially moving into this late game, or does it just really depend on the space that your team buys for you?
A bit of both, honestly. I think you've got Hou-Yi, which is a bit better at AoE controlling team fights with that Suns. That ultimate really comes into play. But Jingwei, very safe and has free crit in the kit. You can't pass up free crit. And in a meta where we're seeing more and more crit come out of Hunters now, Jingwei's always going to be effective and relevant. When it comes to Siegen, on the offensive side, Jingwei kind of falls a little bit and struggles there now and again, whereas Hou-Yi on the defensive is pretty more impactful. I would say Jingwei's defense on Phoenix Siege is fantastic because well, you can swoop behind your backline from base.
Well, the fighting hasn't been on that side of the map effectively the entire game, but if some of these fire giants get spent the way they do and you're not able to break down that Phoenix, we could very well see a turnaround because I think you pointed it out. We were talking about XP differences and gold differences and things like that. You're starting to approach the point in the game where effectively everyone is level 20. You're getting to the point where you're full build, and it's just the decisions you make.
And I think that's the biggest thing we've seen in this game is how just F6 played this one. We've got a bit of a situation where it's starting to expose them a little bit. But we are back in game for this fight.
That's right, and they are actually fighting just on the other side of that fire giant. Yemoja walls were already used, but Predators in typical Camazotz fashion gets aggressive. So much shielding saves the life of Merlin, but not for long, as he's going to end up falling. So now this is a 4v4 fight. This might just still get peeled out. Just a little bit more technical issues, but we'll get back to it in just a moment. So just F6. They took the fight, but you trade out 1 for 1.
I suppose you could call him fly off into the sky.
Yeah, right. That sounds real nice.
That's a great CC. It's like Heimdall, but slow motion.
So the next Chulainn rework, we add flying to his kit.
Ask AJ.
Yeah?
Who knows? Yeah, why not? No, flying away.
Good.
Just like, I'm out.
Oh, just out of the game entirely.
I'm just done with this now.
Well,
Sorry for the tech issues, though, boys and girls. We'll definitely get an update for you as soon as we have one. We're just having a bit of an issue there.
That's right. Unfortunately, tech issues unable to be resolved here in this one. So we are going to call the game. Froi was able to capitalize on that fire giant and make good on some of those Phoenix sieges. So game 1 over to Froi. And maybe not surprising considering the state of the game for them.
No, very unfortunate we can't bring you to the end now. I apologize for that, boys and girls. But yeah, realistically, I think I expected to see after how that game went that Froi would eventually break the base. They had one Phoenix siege that went bad. All you had to do was go back and correct those. We saw where just F6 were failing. They need to focus on their backline more. Protect them or make them realize that they're peeling for themselves. Biggest issue.
And people had Froi, I think, as the favorites going into this one. So just F6 putting up a good fight. That's game 1. We're going to bring you game 2 in just a sec.
Welcome back, everybody. Apologies again for the technical difficulties at the end of that game, but as Dave said, it was Froi in the first-time Combine who were able to push in. Obviously, the beginning of that team fight was looking very good for them, and they did manage to clean it up and end the game just 30 seconds after that. So Froi and the first-time Combine go up in the set 1-0, and now we go to Mifflin here joining me on the desk to talk about how they did it, because Miff, just F6 looked really, really good at the beginning of that game and really through the majority of it.
They took fights very evenly throughout the course of the match. Pre-20 minutes, I would say. Even with a slight gold and XP deficit, they were still taking every fight about 50-50. But it was really on Froi. They got the leads. Anytime they want to fight, they moved to an objective. They took a permanent objective in towers, Gold Furies, and they pushed it further. It
just felt like Froi's team had a little bit more. You could tell that the experience gap was there, in my mind. I mean, the laning phases were good for just F6. The scrapping, the 2-on-2s, the 3-on-3s looked good. Rottwen in particular on that Yemoja was very impressive, had 100% kill participation to the first 20 minutes or so of the game. That's not easy to do as a support in particular. It was really those two that you're seeing on your screen right now, Rottwen and CaptainOti, who for me were doing the majority of the heavy lifting for just F6.
Yeah, props to CaptainOti, by the way. Holding back
Beast.
Predators, that's not easy. That is one of the most aggressive soul laners you're going to see. My boy Dwurst, when I used to play, hated laning against this guy, and he played passive god Jing and he was still getting bullied out. Predators is an absolute animal.
He definitely wants to play aggressively, and Camazotz lends himself to that, but CaptainOti was a monster in the team fights. It was able to clean up a bad Gold Fury fight for just F6 by getting a double kill after Froi had gotten the Gold Fury itself. Really impressed me with that Chulainn play. But ultimately, you get to late game, you've got the Jing, you've got the Janus. Gods like that are really hard to team fight against and defend on the siege because they just bring so much in the late game.
Just sustain, lockdown, they bring it all. That game at no point came down to mechanics. It was, as you said, it's just the experience of playing with your squad and knowing how to progress the map.
So when you're trying to get that, next step there, I mean, Just F6 have already qualified for the group stages, but I think that they would obviously like to get a pretty good seeding. So what do you tell your boys if you just had a big upset in the quarterfinals, you had a close game right there, but you end up losing? How do you regain that momentum that you may have lost?
They need to identify the fact that they were winning the fights in the mid and early, and they can just progress that into objectives. They need to know, okay, we're able to kill these guys. If they can bleed, we can kill them,
Sure.
So we need to just progress into the Gold Furies, get the towers. They did get the early gold, but they didn't take any permanent objectives. You need to open up the map in the early, and that's exactly what Froi did. They took a mid tower almost immediately, and that let them rotate throughout the map very easily.
So are you looking for them, as we get ready for picks and bans here in game number 2, to draft early objective compositions, maybe a double Hunter Fafnir comp? Like, is that the type that you want to see from them?
I want them to play to their strengths right now, and we didn't see that they're good at playing objectives. I want to see them play around team fights. I want early aggression. I'm thinking Raven in the jungle, maybe even like an Isis in the mid. Just purely, I want them to go for kills.
What? Mifflin, you want a team to play Raven jungle, Isis mid? That's crazy, dude. I never would have guessed that.
I mean, I did the drafts for my squad. I'll do it for these guys too. Let's hope they take a note.
Man, I definitely do not envy them if they get to go up against Raven jungle, Isis mid. Trust me, I played against a lot of that with, of course, you being carried by Unrelinquished in the mid lane on the Isis. Anyways, Heimdall, Kukulkan, and Yemoja banned away by just F6. No surprise that a team is willing to ban the Yemoja after how well that it was just played by Rottwen, but that was just F6 who were playing it. A little surprised that they don't let it open and pick it themselves?
I mean, it would have been a good choice, but I think they've identified that they want to put Captain on something that can really frag out.
Sure.
So Camazotz, that's what he's going to do.
I mean, he was fragging out on the Chulainn already, right? So you definitely have a couple options in that moment. DineOhSaw going back to the Xing and a Morrigan selection. Now, Morrigan was banned in game 1 of this set. Now, that's a pick that Mr. Stefan has played in the past quite a bit. I know he's very comfortable on it, and that's a scary thought to see it go up against an experienced Morrigan player.
Morrigan brings so much utility in that she can be literally anyone in the game, but as Hindu said yesterday, we don't talk about the base form enough. Her damage output and burst potential, absolutely insane. She's going to be able to move throughout the team fights from the back invisibly, by the way, and just blow people up.
Now, Ratatoskr is a selection here for just F6 that lends itself to that early game pressure that you were looking for. It helps you take those scrappy fights early on, but it is a very good Morrigan transformation. Is that something that you have to worry yourself about in picks and bans, what ults you're giving over to Morrigan?
I don't think you can concern yourself with that. You need to just pick around the best comp that you can get yourself. Morgan's going to turn into anything you pick. You're not going to pick a weaker character just so Morgan can't play as you.
Sure, it's not like you're picking a weaker character so that she can have 10 seconds of weak play where you have to play that way the whole game, right?
Yes.
You're always going to be weak, whereas she's only going to be weak in bursts. Hachiman, the selection here for the duo lane. That's going to be going over to kervv, who I thought had a very good game on that Jing, certainly in the late game as well, but baited for his jungler very, very well, and that's a sign of an experienced ADC player.
Absolutely. This Janus pickup for just F6, we've seen all this aggressive picks. Even in the Bacchus, Ratatoskr, Camazotz, all aggressive. Janus can't really match that power potential and team fight potential, so there's a bit of a disconnect in their comp there.
But they do have great rotation ability, right? I mean, with the Ratatoskr semi-global, a global with Janus, it's easy for him to get to these side lanes where they can play more aggressively early on.
That is true, but I would have preferred to see some more burst mage, something that can follow up off of the Ratatoskr dunk, or even a Bacchus flop. Unstable Vortex is a lot of damage, but it's not as consistent.
No, it's easy to juke and not very confirmable for sure. As Nemesis rounds out the draft for Froi, we'll see if they can find the 2-0 sweep as we head down to Dolson and Hindu Man.
Appreciate you, Aggro. Game 2.
Don't
looking
tell
like
him
it's
that. We don't appreciate him.
Well, I appreciate him giving it to me, which is what I should have said. Thanks for giving it to me, Aggro. But, you know, you can go back to production. Froisan was on that Ratatoskr in the last game.
He was.
Nemesis, though, we raised our eyebrows at each other a little bit. What do you make of that?
You don't see it too often is the reason why. Now listen, slows are really impactful against this composition specifically, but it's not something we normally see in the meta at the moment. Nemesis kind of fallen from grace a lot of the time. Her clear in the jungle is a little bit lackluster. But I am interested to see how Froi do with this. They're having a bit more fun. I will say, though, Dave, in terms of picks and bans, just have 6 here. They kind of just went, hey, what did the enemy team pick against us? Let's pick as many of those away from them as we can. Yeah,
it's just the Bacchus that is filling in instead. The Xing, Janus, Ratatoskr, and Camazotz up in that solo lane. His opponent, though, Predators, who was on the Camazotz last time, is going to be playing that Cerberus. What do you look at in that matchup?
That matchup really is, you get the Cerberus pick, which basically it can weather the storm against the Camazotz poke pressure in the phase. The passive coming out from the Cerberus means that the amount of healing that gets done to a god on the enemy team, if you're nearby, you'll get some of that sustain too. And guess what? Camazotz is all about sustain, so steal a bit of that away from him and give it to yourself ain't so bad.
That's right, and they are going to have Morrigan for Mr. Stefan there in the mid lane. She is, you know, so heavily banned out that you imagine that this is a priority pick there for them. What do you make of that matchup now, looking towards the mid lane between the Janus and the Morrigan?
So once again, it's going to be a game of Morrigan just wants to farm up in the early game, and then after that fact, once she gets to the later stages, she's got all those ultimates to play with, and there's a lot of variable ultimates that can make an impact. Take into account, Stefan just played Janus last game, so he could just transfer him into Doku, right?
Well, they're looking for a little bit of damage here. Doku is going to get himself out of the portal. Unfortunately, Sotos, he doesn't have the ultimate yet to get him to safety. That is first blood over to the Nemesis.
Yeah, Soto just chose this path in awkwardly there, trying to run through 2 characters, sure. One of them had a CC stun. Got to be respectful of it, especially when you don't have those beads up. If he really wanted to go that route, Dave, I would have rather seen him try the blink.
And they knew exactly what they were doing. Yeah. Little engagement there, but the disengage from Totti is good enough to save the life of his support. But it was sort of telegraphed. They knew that there were a couple low-health members of the mid and the jungle rotating around to those Harpies, and only the Janus is able to take his portal out alive.
And those choke points are a lot trickier this year.
Right, they're
on
different.
The left-hand side. Because of the fact that if you want to path through the jungle, you can't really get anywhere as effectively. So it kind of shuts down on your options. Normally you'll see them go towards the red buff and try and fall back that way. And what happened there was Soto was like, well, I really want to get back in mid so I'm in position.
Right.
But to do so, I have to be even more out of position.
Yeah, and that's a tough way to start off, especially now that you're a level behind. Maybe a half a level as he is able to even up the differential there. But engagement's consistently happening in this long lane. Aggression maybe from both sides. You got a little bit of CC for everyone, and maybe that's what you look at.
I mean, well, everyone should have a CC in the game for the most part. There's very few characters that don't have any form. But this invade here to try and slow them down could be a bit tricky.
So that's the purple invade, and they are able to get it. DineOhSaw, so that's a win there for Froi. You look at Just F6, their duo lane has effectively been at their tower line for the entire opening 3 minutes of this game. And that lends itself to a purple invade.
It lends itself to the pressure that you're going to get from a Hachiman and, of course, the Jing 10 alongside it. Jingwei's early lane clear isn't the greatest, and obviously Bacchus is a little bit susceptible to wave clear problems as well. So it's going to definitely be a lane where you're just going to sit back as Just F6 and go, okay, we picked Jingwei for a reason to just weather the storm of the early game and get more effective as the game goes on.
The first couple of players starting to hit level 5 in this one. So Ultimate's beginning to come online as well. And with First Blood going over to Froisan on that Nemesis, and this is just because, you know, she's not necessarily a jungler that you often see in some of these competitive games. What does that play style look like? You get yourself an early lead. How do you extend that impact?
So really what you're looking to do is take on tanks more than anything else or shut them down in the early game. Bacchus is a good option because the way Nemesis' ultimate works is it shreds some protections from what the character is that you ult onto and then give them back to Nemesis.
Yeah, I'll take those.
So Bacchus, for example, who uses that chug to give himself extra protections, you ult him at the straight after that. You're going to be nice and tanky. And Bacchus is definitely someone that doesn't really enjoy being slowed. Once his flops on cooldown, he has a couple of trickier issues. However, I just don't see it being overly effective. I think this is Froisan really just showing it's available and optional. I don't know if we're going to see this as a meta pick throughout the year, but I will say like some of the changes to the jungle have allowed Nemesis to maybe be a bit more impactful. Well,
the difference maker in this one is that First Blood, and that carves out about a 600 gold lead. Quick math there from me. There is maybe an engagement in the mid. Portal pulls down DineOhSaw, and the stun was not there for the follow-up. But this is kind of where you start seeing these junglers starting to hang around this mid lane. It happened early, got a first blood, and now even the support's getting in on the action.
Kind of the classic three-man in the mid lane again. Junglers, mids, and supports all hanging around that area, but on the right-hand side now, going to get a bit of a 2v2. I like the idea here. Sotos is like, you know what, don't worry about it, let's just get the buff down and make sure that's secured.
We're able to grab it this time around, so that's a free blue buff there from Captain. They didn't want to take that fight.
No, didn't want to at the end of the day. I like the idea, though, from Just F6. Invade, steal away the blue, and just carry on farming. Look at how iSotos is doing. Meanwhile, Nemesis being baited into taking fights.
Yeah.
However, Cam is in trouble. There's 4 members here, and nobody else around. Can we do a Gold Fury, maybe, Just F6?
That's the blink through. Captain burns his ultimate. Xing swirls him around. He's able to capitalize on that one. Mr. Stefan is able to grab the kill. No, we can't do a Gold Fury.
No, we can't. They were doing red buff and then clearing out mid wave, and I think the call from Captain actually came way too late. I think he thought he was safe and was probably on comms going, hey guys, don't worry about it, I can get out. I'm Camazotz. I'm good. And he didn't realize there was 4 members there. And then you saw Doku ult across in the Janus at the tail end of that.
Yep.
I think that ult would have come out earlier if he realized he was in trouble. Or, as we said, we could have looked for a Gold Fury. Bit of a drop of the hat there from Captain, in my opinion. If he did make the call, though, that's on the comms and the team.
Oh no, we were wondering how this Nemesis was going to find an impact, and a little bit of help from DineOhSaw there is going to grab you your second kill of this game.
And just a nice little comfortable lead for Froi. I think they got comfortable after that first game now. They kind of worked out how good Just F6 are individually and also as a team. And instead of game 1 where it's a little bit more slow paced, this time they're like, okay, let's try and pressure him early and see how they respond.
That's right, and now that 600 gold lead has moved its way up to 1,000. So now you imagine maybe the next large objective, or really the only large objective to start looking towards, is that Gold Fury. They didn't capitalize on it before. Hachiman is going to grab the ultimate. That's a good shot there. Curve sidestepping, is able to get out alive underneath the tower.
Des spoke about it, but now there's a rotation coming through from the Bacchus. I don't think he's going to be enough for a kill on his own, though. He's going to do decent damage, and I like the beads out from Curve there. But Janus is here.
Yeah, he's going to drop down the ultimate, and that's the long-range shot from Doku, and that one's good for the first kill of this game for Just F6. Good rotation there from Just F6 to capitalize on the setup.
And that's sometimes why you don't see Hunters necessarily do that in the 1v1s, especially when there's a Janus or a global rotation on the map.
Yep.
Always going to be front sight forward in terms of what could happen next. And with that, it just puts Just F6 on the board, and it gives it to a Janus who will be quite happy to get a bit of gold right now.
And we mentioned kind of the Gold Fury as being maybe the next thing to look at. That little bit of pressure was enough for Froi to move forward, drop some wards on that Just F6 side of the jungle, potentially setting themselves up for something along those lines. I imagine you don't go for it right now because they would be privy to it, but you have to expect maybe another fight occurs on that left side of the map. You're grabbing yourself a Fury.
Funny enough, best secure in the game at the moment at this stage is probably that of a Bacchus, so it's not really an objective you're happy about, but Froisan's a little bit far forward here and gets away with a blink of his eye.
And he's got to use his blink to get out of that one, and Froisan stays alive. This is what we saw so much throughout the beginning of that last game, though, right? Where these two teams were just sort of positioning themselves, maybe kind of half engaging. There was a lot more action in the first, 4 or 5 minutes of this one. But kind of back to what we saw at the beginning of the last game, where both teams are maybe starting to slow down. We don't want to fully dive into this fight. Froisan does have to use the blink. I imagine if he didn't, that would have been a different fight. And
I think the big reason for that is Just F6 have got pretty much much more of a mid-game to late-game composition here. They want to just farm up through this early phase. Jing, Janus, two that want to do that sort of, just continue farming. Whereas what you're trying to see out of Froi here is Froisan's like, okay, they want to play passive in the early game, so we should try and be aggressive and not allow them to get any free wins. So if they overextend at all here, Just F6, I wouldn't be surprised to see Froi look for aggression again. It's on them about their positioning, and with positioning, you need good wall placement.
And as even as the gold is in this game, all 300 of the difference or so is on that mid lane, so very small numbers there, but Doku, despite maybe some early presence from that Nemesis, is able to kind of keep pace with Mr. Stefan here in this mid lane.
Speaking of Mr. Stefan a bit more, interesting to see he's gone for the Book of Toth rush here this game.
Sure.
I suppose the Mage's Blessing. We don't see too many Mage's Blessings as of late. And I'm pretty surprised we've not really seen him go for a Doom-Orb option instead of the Book of Thoth. Doom-Orb, the mobility factor can help him out, and he might need it right about now.
Yeah, especially with that Ratatoskr dropping down, but Mr. Stefani's going to transform into Ratatoskr, and he's going to crash right on down, but Bacchus, he was already being spun around. He drops down the ultimate, and Mr. Stefan, for his troubles, is going to just find death. He re-engages as the enemy jungler, and he adds a 1 to his death column.
I don't know what Froisan's really going here, but Bacchus is going to be pretty careful in this situation. But here's the chase on from Soto now, and Froisan in a world of problems.
He's finally going to be able to use the ultimate of his own, and that's the true Ratatoskr ultimate. But look at that. Froisan turns around enough damage to make him think twice. Rottwen is going to dash away. Predators leaps right back on top, and that's kill number 4 for Froisan.
And that's those hungry kill eyes that are on form now, but good rotation from Captain finally. A little bit late to the party though, because Predators shouldn't really be able to get in that position uncontested without Captain being a little bit more aware of it there. Same time though, Rottwen shouldn't have been there. He went in for the kill, shouldn't have done it. He was too low on health, only level 8. That's the one thing you can end up having happen sometimes, where you just get the sense that you can smell blood in the water and you want to go for it. Sometimes it's not really worth it.
Yeah, but you lose your jungler if you're Froi as opposed to Rottwen, the support for Just F6. I mean, maybe you're splitting hairs here, but you call that a net win for Just F6? You lose your support in exchange for the enemy jungler, or does it come out even?
In a weird way, I mean, you could have probably got that enemy jungler anyway, right? Using your support. So, if anything, yes, Just F6 do find a win there, with the jungler being shut down for a second.
Right.
But I don't think it was as impactful as it could have been if we didn't see the support die too.
If he was able to get out alive. As Camazotz has already carved himself out a 1-level lead. And I think that's a phrase I should just get used to saying. When you start to see this Camazotz in the solo lane, we've talked about it so much throughout yesterday and a lot moving into today. A small lead, a big lead, I don't think anything would surprise me with the way he's playing.
And I think once upon a time we used to see Camazotz played in the solo lane, right? And really what we always used to say is most of the casters and analysts didn't really like Camazotz in the solo because he doesn't bring anything to the team fight.
Right.
He's very much an individual god that will focus on dealing damage and survivability. Now, his numbers towards survivability kind of increased recently, and that's why we see him be a bit more potent. Now when it comes to team fights, he's very good at zoning 2, 3, 4 members away.
Sotos is going to blink in right back through the back line, and all that does is force the ultimate from Kerv. So he's able to get himself out alive. Good aggression, though, from that Ratatoskr.
Agreed.
It's going to help his Hunter, rather, grab a little bit of a lead.
And it allows Totti to get a bit more freedom there, because now we can't see Kerv step up as much. And just as that ult's now on cooldown, here comes the Fury attempt.
Gold Fury getting melted away. DineOhSaw in range. DineOhSaw no good on the steal, but they look like they want a little bit more. They're still going to move themselves in.
Really good shot calling from Just F6 though, Dave. I mean, the idea to get the Gold Fury then, Janus was just back in, sorry, Mr. Stefan was back in base, and you see him actually use the ultimate by transforming into the Janus to try and get the through space and time across. Only DineOhSaw really in the area could do anything. So, end of the day, it was a great pick, but now this fight might be a bit more awkward.
Oh, he's spinning around, he's drunk and dizzy, and Rottwen gets tossed backwards. But that's the Janus able to find the kill. Doku is able to get himself on the board for the 3rd time in this game. You know, Janus is a debated on god, but once you start to get him fed, maybe with any god in the game, this is kind of saying something without saying anything. He's going to hurt.
Really, what it is with Janus is his damage isn't as confirmable as people like to think. The portals are very impactful, but they've got to be used with a team, and communication has to be strong of what situation you're getting into with it. And I think that's one of the reasons why people don't like Janus as much, is because it's unconfirmed damage. Why not go for a god that can give you consistent, secure damage overall?
Sure. I've liked what I've seen out of Doku thus far. The attempted assist on his solo laner getting dove by 4 members, but just a little bit too late that time around. So now you look 13 minutes into this one, Just F6. Thanks to that Gold Fury, were able to carve themselves out a little bit of a lead. Surprised maybe to see Froisan not try to contest that Fury?
I think he was just a little bit out of position more than anything else, so he couldn't really get into the position to be around. He was mainly clearing buffs in the jungle, and now DineOhSaw being looked at again.
He's going to belly flop onto that one. He's not going to find the stun. They are going to rotate back through. There is kind of an ever-increasing presence around this mid lane, with Jing Wei kind of hovering in the wings, but looks like just going to go for a little bit of farm. They have not shied away, though, from jumping into some of these fights. But Sotos corrects me on that one as he dashes away.
And I think that's what we're seeing at Just F6 now. They're feeling pretty confident after that last Gold Fury. They're happy with how the game went, and they're starting to feel a bit more comfortable with how their builds are coming along. Rage now finished for Jing Wei. She comes back from base. But I really like what Doku did on Janus, to be honest. He's at max cooldown reduction right about now. 50% if you want to take into account the Chronos Pennant, which makes it legit. But it's that Spear of the Magus that you see picked up from him. So Spear of Desolation picked up from him here, which is definitely an option. He doesn't always have to go it. If there's lots of anti-heal, then you may want to go Divine.
Predators is trying to sidestep, but there's only so many charges of that Camazotz ultimate that you can sidestep. Spinning around goes Divine, or DineOhSaw, excuse me. He's going to try to dash himself away, but he is undertowered just with an inch of his life. The collapse is through. Oh, good blink out, but that's a blink right back from Captain. I'm not going to let you get away this time. And he grabs the kill. That's a 2 for none in favor of Just F6.
But they're still going aggressive. They're still trying to pick up the Froisan now. Flop will connect.
That's a big belly flop.
To follow up.
And Captain grabs the kill. Up into the air goes Stefan. He has the ultimate still. Lots of low health bars and low mana bars for Just F6. Mr. Stefan is going to get himself back into that true Morrigan form, back under tower. And this one now becomes a 3 for 9.
This is great from Just F6. I'm not going to lie. I love what they're doing with the map at the moment. Froi got off to a really good early lead, right? 3 kills early on. And they kind of sat back and went, okay, we won the early game. We're in a bit of a comfortable spot now. Let's just farm up and then we can look for pressure. Just F6 went, no, we hit power spikes. We see a window where you've made a mistake. We get a Gold Fury. And then after that Gold Fury, they start to get the wind in their sails. And now they're being on the aggressive. And it's a really good look because it's allowing Totti to just keep on farming. He's got a 2-level lead here over Kerv.
Yeah, it's been a quiet game from the Hunters. And maybe that's a good thing if you're Just F6. You're able to sit back and free farm. And, you know, the roles were swapped. It was Kerv on the Jing Wei in the last game. But you saw what he was able to do with a good bit of farm and some damage items online.
Not going to lie, though, Dave, I'm a little bit concerned as this game goes on for Just F6 because they've kind of fallen into a trap of last game a little bit. Their backline isn't going to get very much peel. What's going to peel from? Bacchus? No, he wants to flop onto the carries in the backline. What's going to peel from? Camazotz? No, he's going to want to go for the carries. Is Ratatoskr going to do it? I highly doubt it. Junglers don't do that. That's not in there. You know, it's not in their, like, their coding.
Right. You don't have the luxury of a Yemoja to stun CC everyone else in this game.
And that means that when this game goes, as this game goes on, if Just F6 aren't careful, they could get picked apart. Pyro, though, for a kill.
They grab Pyro, but 2-level lead be damned down in the long lane rather. Kerv is able to get the kill onto Totti. That was 16-14 just a moment ago. And now the Hunter for Froi is right back in this game.
We didn't really catch the kill, but at the same time, look at what Totti's got available. His ultimate is up. He did use his beads. Aegis was available. You can't be down as a Jing Wei like that. You should at least have your ultimate down and beads down, and then you can go, okay, credit where it's due. You did as much as you could to survive.
Well, the Hunters obviously loved the way their builds went in the last game because they go into the Aussie first, immediately follow up with a Rage. Kerv's going to grab his first stack onto that one.
I'm looking forward to the second semi-final of the day as well, just to see how those Hunter builds evolve, or if they do change off this. Or is this going to be something we see out of European players, which, once upon a time, we used to have a bit of a difference in the EU and NA metas, and it might be starting up right about now.
Well, Hunter still back in base for Just F6, but if somebody's going to rejoin the fight quickly from base, that's your Jing Wei, and right back into the fight she is. So, Fury being poised around now. If you're Froi, Froisan is going to try to split this one off. Half health now. In goes Rottwen, drops down that cask. And that's the Camazotz that's going to start swooping through. You've got 2 of them in this game. Mr. Stefan is going to use his as a bit of disengage. That's a double dash from Froisan as well. Nobody really trying to belly flop fully into this one. That's a big double pull from the Cerberus. Are they able to melt down that health bar, though? There's not quite enough damage. Half health on everyone for Froi here. You got to be careful to try to engage too much on this fight. Up into the air goes Totti, and now they found themselves a good spot. This Jing Wei, she's joining the fight, and she's going to find plenty of damage. That's a double kill. Not before Mr. Stefan answers back with one of his own. DineOhSaw grabs another. CaptainOti with 1, and this one is a 3 for 2 for Just F6.
Just F6 didn't do too bad there, considering I think Froi played the team fight a little bit better from the onset. In mid lane, Froisan up against SCC. Froisan ult SCC just before that fight even begins, and it forces the Ratatoskr to use his ult defensively, so that's not available. So Froi are like, okay, we don't have to worry about Ratatoskr's ultimate. We can get aggressive around the Gold Fury here, and they catch Just F6 in the choke point near those Harpies. and pinched them from two sides. Froisan from the right, rest of the team from the Gold Fury side, and it caused a lot of problems. But I do think Just-F6 did a very good job of playing that out. And Froi just didn't have the damage to confirm any kills.
Just-F6 are going to hope that they have the damage to confirm this Fury, and they do have at least the numbers on their side immediately ready. This is going to be the primal for them. Nobody from Froi is going to be in range. No contest, and that gold lead grows to about 5K.
Really well played from Just-F6, though, recognizing they have the opportunity to go straight back to it after the fact. And I'm surprised that we didn't see Froi do the same thing. Froi just went, hey, let's fight. Okay, guys, we didn't get any kills. Let's just go back to farming and let them get the free Primal Fury. I don't understand that decision-making, if I'm honest. Maybe they didn't feel like they were comfortable with their relic situation, but I'm looking at the relic situation, and sure, Morrigan can't be in there, but you still had Curve there on that Hachiman to try and slow them down, potentially. Don't know what that was about.
Well, the big artwork for the Erendite for the first time in this set for Froisan. Do you like picking that up on the Nemesis?
The Erendite, I think it's really useful
Erendite,
this time and time. With how the game's been going so far and how the meta's changed, this is just a continuation of chase potential coming out for this Nemesis. Once you use the ultimate, as you can see, you'll be able to continue to see targets, but also move quicker towards them. And guess what? Nemesis wants to do that.
That's what you want.
Yeah. I'm actually surprised we've not seen Just-F6 go for a sprint, a heavenly agility this game.
Sure.
Because one of the best counters to Nemesis is she's all about slows. She's got no hard lockdown, but she slows consistently. And if you look to go with a heavenly agility, it kind of nullifies a lot of what you can see come out from the Nemesis.
You bring up all the relics. Triple Blink seems to be the name of the game, at least here in this meta. And
everyone believes in it.
Everyone loves it, and both teams agree with me on that one. And it's really, it's usually, and maybe not surprisingly, obviously the supports, the solos, and the junglers that opt in towards that. You want to be a little bit safer, of course, if you're in those carry roles.
Completely agree, but I don't think Rottwen necessarily needs to go for a blink here and a Bacchus. I would have rather seen
That's
him
a
go
double
for that.
gap close, right?
Exactly, but I would have rather seen him go for that heavenly agility a little bit more. Would have been more beneficial for his team as a whole. There's also Winged Blade available, which everyone seems to forget about, which is pretty impactful against the likes of slows.
Well, another fight starting to break out here. Mr. Stefan, health bar evaporates. Totti, he's got some kills under his belt and adds one more. That's the Ratatoskr, though. That finds the second kill for Just-F6 in this engagement. 3 members of Froi trying to backpedal themselves back to base, but DineOhSaw gets caught out, and that's another one for the Ratatoskr.
This should be a Phoenix, Dave. I mean, it's only Froisan and Predators left. There's not much they can really do. Predators does have his ultimate, but I think he needs to hold it for this Phoenix defense now. 5 members strong, barreling down mid here.
They're going to blink themselves in. Predators jumps on out. He does have that ultimate, as you point out. Maybe is just going to give up this Phoenix, realizing probably at this point with 20 seconds left on death timers, if both of you die, and that's just going to be the game.
It should be a fire giant attempt now, because still the respawn time is long enough for them to start this one up. It could be potentially be on these two to try and slow this one down and allow themselves a window back in, but full credit where it's due to this Just-F6 team, man. No one really knows where these guys have come from. It's a Spanish team, probably scrimmed the likes of Warchi and the likes a little bit, and they've done really well for themselves to get to the quarterfinals. Now the semis, and if they win this, they're still with a shot at the finals.
Predators, no way! He steals away the FG, and a massive ultimate is going to pull back just a few, just as you're gassing him up. FG gets stolen away, and unfortunately, the only blemish on that one is Totti grabbing a kill. But they're looking like they might want to re-engage on this fight.
You hate to see it. That's all I'm going to say to that. Because honestly, I think Just-F6 played that really well. Nobody zoned away Predators, though. They should have been aware that he was going to come in. He had one opportunity, one shot, and he made it.
Yeah, Eminem tells you not to miss your one shot, one opportunity.
And he didn't, right?
Yeah, he didn't. Froi moves themselves in.
You know what the worst thing is, Dave?
What's that?
Every single member of Froi got that FG buff too. They'd all just respawned. So Predators jumps in, steals it, and goes, here you go, boys. Sure.
He's saying calculated.
Yeah,
right?
Froisan still, though, decides to throw his life away chasing a kill.
Right.
But I just want to see Just-F6 not really give up too much pressure here now. I know the enemy team's got an FG buff, but I want him to just be a little bit more potent on the map. Sure, if, in my opinion, I think I'd dance around the Gold Fury, but I don't think I would allow myself to invest everything into it.
Right.
If Froi needs to get the Gold Fury, fine. Don't give him too much more, though. But don't overly aggress like they're doing here. Remember, this is a full FG team you're against.
Yeah, they are going to push themselves very far in. That's a 1 tower under duress there in the solo lane, and Froi agrees with you. They might want to take this fight. They're going to capitalize. Stefan is in the stealth. Down crashes one. Immediately deleted is that Janus. Soto is trying to run away. He is quick on that Ratatoskr. The chase is on. That's kill number 2. Froisan grabs it. Maybe Ratatoskr still under duress.
Dave, I don't know. Let's have a look at the Fire Giant
Yeah,
steal, though.
absolutely.
That was a good little play from them. I don't know what happened there, Dave. I mean, you can't be having that happen. You know, he managed to slip in. Nobody was really on zone shooting from what we could see. We just get to see the ultimate after the fact, which was great. But it would have been nice to see his path into the jungle, exactly how he got through there, through wards, if there was any, and also why nobody was looking in that direction.
And the chase afterwards has got to be,
yeah.
Oh, that was a massive ultimate. Let's just go on and fight, and it didn't pay off for him here. Be careful, Just F6. Those death timers are long, and you don't want to get caught out too much. You want to fight under your Phoenix if possible. There are a couple members, still only 3 remembers, 15 seconds on their Hunter. Maybe you just give up this left side Phoenix.
Yep.
Froi are going to take it for free, and they're going to look to disengage.
That was Just F6 own fault. They pushed down left for a tier 1 tower. What it cost them? 2 lives, 2 towers, and a Phoenix. Play it slower, a little bit slower. I was calling for that, but instead they kept the aggression up, and I think Just F6 got in their own head after that FG steal a little bit here, and he's kind of come back to haunt them a bit, but they're not out of it yet.
No.
I say, as they're looking at Predators here.
Yeah, the face of this game has been changed, but it's going to keep flip-flopping back and forth as these people, as the players rather, are not able to backpedal in time, get themselves out of the fight. That's one traded out, 45 seconds on your solo laner. Gold Fury over to Just F6. You're getting to the point in the game where a lot of you are getting close to full build, but still plenty of slots to be filled up. So Gold, a big difference maker, still 25 minutes in.
Definitely, and I'm actually excited to see how Just F6 do in the group stages now, because both these teams have qualified to the group stages of the SCC.
Yep.
This might be the cheeky one that either slips in or causes a couple of upsets along the way, I would say.
That's right.
Because the way they're playing at the moment, they play as a team for the most part. They've got, obviously, like every team, they've got things to work on individually and as a team, but they're not half bad, if I'm honest.
And that's Middle Phoenix just now respawning. Fire Giant, call it 25 seconds left on 3 members of Froi. And it's looking like that's going to be the next maybe focused on objective here. Both teams back to full strength. And this next Fire Giant could be a big one.
Love the idea of sending Janus to the left-hand side here. With RemagDoku on the left-hand side, he's going to deal with the fire creeps that are going to be pouring down that left.
Yep.
But also he's got the opportunity to just ult across to the right-hand side. And it's really something that Froi have to consider too. They can't really start an FG going, hey, we know where Janus is. But take into account, the longer that ultimate travels, the more damage it does. So it works out pretty beneficially for Just F6 to keep that pressure going on the left. However, at the moment where I'm looking, I can see SCC is now the one being sent over there, and I don't like that call. The ping's going down on him to give that idea
Oh
up.
no, this is potentially a big collapse here from Froi. Just hanging out behind these Harpies. They've moved themselves forward. Likely going to get some ward coverage to cover this Fire Giant that is respawning in 33 seconds. There's always that potential. At this point, you know, you get a 5 for 0. You're not necessarily even worried about the Fire Giant. You got exposed Phoenixes on both sides. You could end the game. Froi maybe now positioning themselves towards this mid tower, just going to look to find some damage, maybe some objectives before that FG respawns.
And credit where it's due to Ratatoskr. I understand why they've sent him there. His beads were on cooldown, just coming back up now.
Yep.
So sure, he doesn't want to get involved in the fray, but it would have been much better to have that Janus over there, in my opinion, to keep this split push going. And what's going to happen next is the real question, because if they see him at that tier 2 tower, the pings are flying now. I'd be going for FG if I'm Froi. This could be a mistake.
Yeah, you've got SCC in the long lane over there. They are pinging near it. That's a deep ping, though, from Just F6, and they are going to start to pull that Fire Giant. He's starting to pull off that red buff. If you turn around and fight now, this could be a good fight for Froi, and they're going to do just that. Totti so low, he's able to get himself out of the fight, but Rottwen's the first one to go down, followed by Captain immediately after. You got 60 seconds on your death timers. An important trade back, though, onto Froisan, but it's still 4 versus 3. Barreling down this mid lane, might even be able to pull it just a little bit further back in their favor with Soto as getting chipped away. He's just going to dance around. Now you got 4 versus 2 on the defense.
So Doku could have put a portal through the wall potentially there to help Ratatoskr out. Soto's doing the red buff, right? He had to rotate straight there because here's what's going to happen. They either get the FG because it's a 4v5, or they take a 4v5 fight and win it because you're not going to be there in time and in position. It was greedy going for the red buff, it's been punished, and now it's Froi with a chance to capitalize in this game.
They're pulling FG down to about half health. Remember, this is 2 members of Just F6. They want to contest this, make it 1 member of Just F6 left in range. There is a respawn from Rottwen to even that one back up to 2. But Totti, I think, thinks twice about trying to contest this at all whatsoever. They might try to stagger out just 5 more seconds so you can get it on the 5 full members of Froi, and Froisan is going to respawn. Fire Giant will be finished 5 strong for the red side.
And good notice there, Froi. Yeah, sometimes you won't see that happen too often in your casual games, but in competitive, trying to make sure everyone gets that FG buff can be pretty impactful for the next couple of sieges. And now it's really Froi in the forefront once again. Just F6, honestly, held this game in their hands for a long period of time, in my opinion. But a couple of mistakes, as you can see by those graphs, have just allowed Froi right back into it.
Yeah, you can see the Hindu effect, you know, right towards the end of that graph.
That first dip is like, wow, these guys are doing really well. Bloop. Cast a curse.
That's the FG steal. And what a play it was by Predator. Sometimes
it was.
That's all you need. And now you're looking 5 men strong with this Fire Giant. Left side Phoenix has respawned if you're looking at it from just F6's point of view. That's got to be the obvious objective to go for.
Definitely. Obviously, go for the left-hand Phoenix. Don't necessarily send all your team. You could basically send...
Yeah, you could split.
Do the 4-1 split, send one man up against it. But when you look at their composition, it's not really designed to have a split pusher in mind, really.
Sure.
Nemesis can kind of 1v1 most gods, but she's got to play it very, very well to be effective. And she gets hit by, for example, a space and time or something like that, she could be in trouble. I do like the idea of having a split happen. And funny enough, I think we're going to see 4 down the left, 1 in the mid.
They're going to kind of bounce back and forth using this outside lane. The Predators is feeling fine just to move in, plug away some damage. Froisan into the back line. He goes, has to jump out of that one. You've taken so much damage. This could be a good fight for just F6. Froisan so low. Rottwen, he's going to capitalize on that kill. Plenty of damage being poured out from the Janus as well. Soto's stunned out, but the damage isn't there to return the kill. Totti, that's kill number 2 before DineOhSaw is able to answer back with 1. And Janus pours through the damage. There's only 2 members left of Froi. This is the Phoenix push gone wrong.
Yep, and that's exactly what you were hoping for. Doku managed to get his through space and time onto Kerv, and Kerv lost half his health bar before that fight even really got involved for him. And then the chase was just continued on from the chase up to Froisan. This is on DineOhSaw and Predators now. The console boys trying to buy as much time as possible for their teammates to respawn. All the while, just F6 here, Dave, chasing these kills means they're not going for a Phoenix. They could potentially have ended the game if they just barreled down mid against these two. But the chase for kills is probably going to cost them a chance at a victory.
Well, if nothing else, DineOhSaw has had to burn both of those relics just to stay alive.
Woohoo.
But they're just going to move towards that Fury. 10 seconds left on the respawns from Froi.
Yep.
Not a lot of damage left up on the table for the Chaos side, so I don't think trying to capitalize on that Phoenix was still in the cards for those two. But they do a great job, as you point out, of delaying this game. Yeah, you trade out a Fury, but you've avoided any of your base being lost.
I mean, all 3 Phoenixes are still up. Remember, that's a middle weakened Phoenix there as well, which they could have easily taken down. Worst case scenario for my liking. Instead, they chase kills, they end up just having to settle for a Fury, and that's something that just F6 can now look back on and go, okay, next time we play this, this is where we went wrong. We shouldn't have made this call here. Why didn't we make this call in the first place? And understand where the limitations were of this team. So for now, we're kind of tied up for a moment or two, and this next FG is going to be a big one.
And 1 minute and 45. So you got 45 seconds, and that's Froi grabbing the Pyromancer. 45 seconds on the 2 remaining buffs for Froi, and then 1 minute after that. I guess the obvious question is, if you're Froi and if you're just F6, you just trying to stall out for 1.5 minutes, grab this next Fire Giant? For
the most part, you look for a pick if you can. If you can burn a relic or 2 in this situation, it's perfect timing, you know? Like you said, 1.5 minutes in the Fury respawning. Well, that's the same time as beads, pretty much. You're going to set the beads out there, not going to be one to be as aggressive. And as Doug's pointing out, there's a lot of wards down here for Froi.
And they're all on just F6 side of the map. Nothing through there, all red ward coverage. So Froi knows fine and well where just F6 is moving.
Yeah, where's Ward's place? Thanks, Doug. I was about to ask that because I'm just looking at just F6, who've kind of come out of base there with 2 people with sentries in inventory, which is a bit lackluster for my liking at this stage. It's not as if you're short on gold at this moment. You pretty much hit 6 items. So why are we not looking at more ward coverage coming through? Meanwhile, look at what Froi did. All went back to base, and I see 4 sentries there.
We got 4 sentries and a standard ward ready, just in case those get cleared out. Now you got 30 seconds remaining on that FG respawn. You do have to be careful. That much vision, that buys you an advantage, and it buys you a kill on maybe the most powerful member of just F6. Totti is down, and Rottwen is going to follow up right after. A big 2 kills from Froi. 60 seconds left on those timers.
And that's one thing Mifflin was saying on the desk. This is one of the reasons we don't see Morrigan, because that stealth potential into a stun combo can end lives quickly. Totti got his beads off, but he also died immediately as those beads went off. No chance now. Froi could go on to end without even needing the FG. 5v3.
That's right. It's about to be a right side Phoenix that goes down. No contest from just F6 this time.
Okay.
Looking like they are going to play this one safe. and maybe pivot themselves towards that Fire Giant. But, you know, Predators, he was able to jump in and steal it last time. Is this maybe one that Just F6 has to position themselves around?
You got a shot to defend this one. I mean, you've got 3 gods alive right now that are really good at it, but you need wards to keep an eye on this stuff.
Oh, no.
Stefan hunting.
Oh, no, Captain stunned. And he thinks twice, I think, about looking towards this gold, or this Fire Giant, rather. He does use the ult, and he's going to swoop himself out to safety. And that's about it.
That's not too bad for Just F6. Keep him busy, trying to look for kills, looking for a pick over going for the FG. Remember, you've still got a Janus, so that's your real hope here, but you don't have ward coverage. So it's really how lucky does Doku feel?
It's 5 members strong now for Just F6. Fire Giant chipped away. Totti, he is in range, but he is low. Are they able to get the kill onto Predators? He's able to jump out of range. Totti has to burn the Aegis, but it doesn't save his life. Captain trades back 1, but Mr. Stefan and that Morrigan has found plenty of damage. 2 members remaining from Just F6. They keep checking this Fire Giant, Graham, and they keep dying for it.
And now Captain in problems here as he gets stunned out by Stefan. No ultimate available for him, just his sustain. And Froisan makes sure that's a delayed triple there for Froisan.
That's right.
On this Nemesis.
And it was 4, 6, and 9 going into that. You're going to end this game at least at 7, 6, and 9. You got 1 member for the last 35 seconds. No chance for Just F6. The miracle steal from Predators brings them back into this game. The Titan will fall, and Froi are going to move themselves onto the finals with a 2-0.
Really fun set, actually, between those two.
Fun.
I think it was a good back and forth. You got a mixture of that Froi team, which is a mix of console and PC kids coming together from minor league and the console league from last year. And then you've also got this new roster that came out of nowhere. Sure, they've got things to learn. They've got to get better at certain things. But overall, that was a great performance.
I'm excited to see Just F6 moving forward. I mean, I don't know if there needs to be any more emphasis other than Predators and that Fire Giant steal. Everything was against them. We noted the giant dip on both the XP and the gold charts, and that's all on that Cerberus.
And that's kind of where it came down to, and Just F6 have to look back and go, okay, that's where we went wrong first of all, and why did we go wrong there? Who was supposed to be on zone duty? Why did we not pay attention to where he was because of delayed damage? But at the same time, great individual play from Predators.
And I loved the way Froi played towards the end of that game. They realized they had all of the wards in the world to just position themselves wherever they wanted. The Morrigan stuns, the sort of pseudo ganks that she was bringing to the table there towards the end really won them the game.
Yeah, early game, it was all good for Froi, but I really feel like Just F6 found a window and then exploited it. They got that first goal for an opportune time for them. And from there, Just F6 were in control of this game. They were kind of the ones choosing when they wanted to fight, and Froi couldn't find the window. And it really came back down to that FG steal at the tail end that really switched this game on its head.
Yeah, these were 2 fun teams to watch. Action all throughout. This one a little bit quicker pace towards the beginning than the last one was. And on your screen now was that Nemesis, you know, the big 3 kills towards the end. Actually, this is going to be the full-blown look at that Fire Giant steal really quick before that.
Great work.
Just tosses it in, grabs the FG, and we'll take the game about 10 minutes later.
Yeah, that's what you get paid for as a solo for the most part, it's a tanky one. Walk up and get a free FG for your team, and that puts them into the finals now based off that one little play. As the game went on, though, as you can see, Stefan started to really make an impact on the Morrigan. And in the late game, this is where it just goes, watch Totti disappear. You'll see him beads, and he still dies. Yeah,
that was the play just over and over and over again there towards the end of the game. Quick thoughts on what you saw on that Nemesis, though. I mean, there were the 3 kills that swooped through to end at 7 and 6. Prior to that, though, 4 and 6. So where do you kind of put her? Did you like what you saw? Still viable?
I think Froisan had a good early game performance and get the farm going, but then in the mid game it kind of fell off a little bit. That's where we started to see a little bit more work coming out from Just F6. Late game though, Nemesis still potent, still can make an impact. But for the most part, Froisan played that as the focus spot. He was the one that got picked off first in most of those team fights.
Well, that one was a lot of fun. That's only semifinal number 1. We've got another great matchup coming up for you right on the other side of this break.